Welcome to Wild Mother's Way. My name is Shannon Marie, and today we're going to talk about how to balance rest, productivity, and connection. This episode is for anyone feeling the weight of balancing multiple roles. If you're in my season, maybe you're navigating the last couple weeks of pregnancy while homeschooling your children. Or maybe you're juggling your creative projects, household responsibilities, and your career. Today, I'm sharing a mix of personal reflections and practical tips, offering you a glimpse into how I'm managing this season while still holding space for my kids, my home, and my creative dreams. This season of life is a delicate dance between rest, creativity, and connection. And my hope is that you'll find inspiration, encouragement, and maybe even a few ideas to carry into your own life. As a gift for you, I have created a printable journal activity with reflective questions to help you explore your own balance of rest, productivity, and connection. It's free to download, and I will put the link in the description. So let's dive into navigating the last few weeks of pregnancy. This is where I'm at currently, and the final weeks of pregnancy are such a paradox. On one hand, I feel bone tired and I don't even want to keep my eyes open. And on the other, I find myself bursting with creativity, dreaming up ideas and elaborate plans, and I just know I'm on the edge of something amazing. I wonder if you feel this way too. And if you do, as you navigate this sacred and transformative season, I invite you to pause with me and explore how we can honor our body, embrace our creativity, and continue to hold space for those we love during these very chaotic yet tender days. So let's talk about how to honor fatigue, find rest, and stay grounded. If you're feeling completely exhausted, know this, it is totally normal. Your body is working so hard, and not only do you deserve rest, you need it. As very driven women, which I'm assuming you are, we simply need to reframe this narrative. So I like to remind myself of this mantra when I'm feeling lazy or tired. And this is what I say, finding rest is not lazy. Honoring my need to rest is essential preparation for transformation. And I guess really when that pops into my head, I just continue hearing this like, it's okay to rest. This is essential preparation for transformation. So I have this quote in the journal that you can download. And I think it's a good one to keep on hand. And even if you're not in the last few weeks of pregnancy, this mantra still rings very true. We need rest in order to transform. So when you can, allow yourself to take naps or take little breaks, even if your house isn't spotless or your to-do list feels endless. But when rest isn't an option, because let's be honest, it's not always feasible with little ones or the massive amount of responsibilities that we all have piling up, here's a few simple ways that work really well for me to recharge. Micro rests. So carving out small moments for myself. Maybe it's 10 minutes of quiet breathing while the kids are coloring, or 10 minutes of a few gentle yoga stretches, even though I don't have the time or energy for an entire session. That 10 minutes, those small rests really relieve tension and help me stay grounded and rest. I give myself gentle reminders. So if you're in this season and you cannot rest, just honestly ask yourself, does this need to be done right now? And if the answer is no, let it wait. I know that can be hard for some of us type A driven women, but it's essential and important in this time to honor rest. Honoring rest should be at the top of your to-do list. Nurturing rituals. So this one I love, and I feel so selfish and luxurious when I take these moments for myself. So I invite you to give yourself little gifts of indulgence. Sit down and just enjoy a warm cup of tea. Sit down and cuddle up with a cozy blanket, or grab your journal and doodle or draw or write out whatever's on your mind. And those couple of minutes will change everything. Now, if all of that sounds impossible and you're feeling totally overwhelmed, my biggest suggestion or tip for those moments is to drop your roots into nature and connection. So this could be just literally stepping outside of your house and taking a walk, or simply feeling the sunlight on your face and the earth on your bare feet. Whatever it is, nature just has this way of grounding us and reminding us that this season, like all seasons, is temporary. It's also really important that you stay connected to yourself and your tribe, your family. Make time to talk with your partner, cuddle with your kids, or call a friend or a parent or a cousin. These moments of connection really refill your cup, and they remind you that you're not navigating through this alone. So hopefully that's helpful when it comes to honoring your fatigue and honoring your rest and staying grounded. Now we can dive into how do we balance all of these household responsibilities, because managing a household while pregnant is no small task, and neither is it small when you have toddlers or even just a full-time career. So whether it's cooking, homeschooling, cleaning, baking, it feels like this never-ending to-do list inside of your own home. So simplifying all of this can make it feel more manageable, less stressful, and not like a chore. So I highly emphasize prioritizing simplicity. Not every meal on your table needs to be elaborate. A big pot of soup with a loaf of bread or some fresh fruit can nourish your family just as well as something beautiful you found on your Pinterest board. Batch cooking. I am not a meal prepper, but I do batch cook. So basically what that means is you bake the entire rack of sweet potatoes that fit on the tray at one time because you're baking them anyway, and they keep well in the fridge. Instead of making burgers or chicken breast or something, you roast the whole chicken, or you roast the whole chuck roast or the picanha or whatever meat you enjoy consuming, or protein for that matter. Roasting meats in bulk, baking things in bulk, it just saves so much time. And again, it's not beautiful and it's not elaborate, but it's simple and it's nourishing and it's easy, and it creates space for balance. Another tip would be to involve your family. So if your kids are old enough, you can invite them to help you make dinner, help you set the table, help you with tidying up, doing the dishes, and the way they set the table and the way they wash their plates and the way they help you prepare the meals is probably not going to be perfect or the way you would do it, but it will lighten your load and it will teach your kids responsibility, and probably most importantly, it just fosters this beautiful connection between you and your children. And that's one of my greatest joys, is having the kids help me in the kitchen. And it can be entirely frustrating when I have this beautiful, perfect loaf of sourdough going and they just want to keep kneading it and rolling it and playing with it like it's Play-Doh. But I let them because, I will stop them eventually. But I let them participate because I think having them participate and having them feel connected and having them feel responsible and a part of what we're doing is so much more important than the perfect outcome. So that's been a really, really good one for me. And then lastly, when it comes to balancing household responsibilities, is to simply let go of guilt. Some days your house is going to be super messy and your dinner table is going to be a random assortment of leftovers, and it will not be Instagram worthy. Nothing in your house that day might be Instagram worthy, and that's totally okay. And just accepting real life and accepting reality and all of its messy, chaotic, amazing, beautiful perfection is what makes it worth living. You know, what is the point if we are not loving every moment? So I hope that helps with balancing your household. I'll talk a little bit about balancing homeschool. So if you're homeschooling, I get it. It is so much to juggle for me. And this is what has really helped me over the years. So I'm pretty far into this, and I have tried so many different approaches. So what I have found is that a very, very, very flexible routine makes the difference. So my routine is not perfect. It is simply a framework that has been working really well for us. And essentially how this works is time blocking. But when I say that, I don't say that like a boss babe. I say that like a very chill, hippie, go with the flow mom. So when I say time blocks, my time blocks are huge, like multiple hours at a time, 7 to 9, 10 to 12. These are pretty large time blocks. And I'll just preface this by saying I had tried for years of my journey as a stay-at-home mom when I quit my full-time job, and I was used to pretty much every 15 minutes of my day being scheduled, to apply that concept to my job as a stay-at-home mom and homeschooling my kids. And it never worked. It just made me feel incredibly guilty and stressed out and overwhelmed. And it's just simply because I scheduled in way too much stuff, and I had so much ambition because, of course, I was in this planning phase of sitting down with my calendar and, oh, we can get so much done in 15 minutes, and then the next 15 minutes we'll get so much done, and then the next 15 minutes, and before I know it, I have this, I don't know, probably months worth of activities lined up for the next 3 days. And it's just really impractical, and don't do what I did. Don't make my mistakes. So here's what's been working well for me, and it's these very, very flexible time blocks. So I will give you a peek into what our daily homeschool schedule currently looks like. And this is kind of, I guess, a daily schedule for my entire productivity. From 7 to 9 a.m.-ish, I really protect this time, and I'll be straight up honest, I pretty much ignore my kids, which is kind of sad, but they are used to it. I need sacred personal time that is completely uninterrupted, where I can just give myself what I need, and I need that time in the morning, or it's really hard for me to be okay during the rest of the day. So if you're anything like me and you hear me say that and you're like, wow, that sounds just like me, I should do that too. I highly recommend it. Your children will adjust, your partner will adjust, and you just, I need this time. That's all you have to say. This is my sacred time. It's a couple hours in the morning. So this is what I do. I enjoy my 1 cup of coffee. I write often. I stretch, I dance, I meditate, I sing, just start my day with practices that really keep me in touch with my wild feminine. And my kids find something else to do. They play. They might complain if they start getting hungry, and sometimes that time block will shift. So that's another thing with these time blocks. I say it's 7 to 9, but it could be like I end up waking up really early and I start having that personal time around 5 a.m. and I'm, done and ready by 7:30, 8 a.m. to interact with my family. So I highly recommend it. As a woman, you need time to be wild and weird and do whatever you need to do to feel at the top of your game in order to deliver the most amazing version of yourself to everyone around you during the rest of the day. So I protect that time, and then of course I make my kids some food, and this usually takes about an hour. We have breakfast and get it all cleaned up, and usually around 10 a.m. is when our school lessons start. So I have pretty much each subject broken up into about 15 to 30 minutes. So we start with handwriting, and we're using this, really sweet Waldorf-inspired guide that I created. We focus on a weekly poem. We combine handwriting practice with creative abilities like drawing or painting. And as a gift for you, I will link the guide I created in the show notes below. It is free and my kids love it, and I just think it's really fun to share, and I would be super stoked if you guys tried it. And let me know what you think. So then we move on to math after handwriting, and I split this time block between the two kids, tailoring each lesson to their level. And while one of them is working with me, the other one gets a little free time, and they're usually choosing to spend that by the wood stove with a coloring book, which is really cute. So then, depending on their mood, we might tackle our reading/language arts lesson right after that, or we take a break first. Like I said, the key to this is being totally flexible to your needs and, more importantly, when it comes to homeschool, the needs of your children. So then, around noon, we break for lunch and we go outside. This is like a daily need that I have, that my kids have, that my husband has. And we go for a walk, and sometimes we're gone for an hour and sometimes longer. It really just depends on the day and where we go, and if we're going sledding or going up a mountainside or simply going next to the creek to throw rocks. You know, it doesn't always have this perfect time block that comes along with it, but the value is that every day we eat lunch and then we go outside, and it's, you know, peak sun. It's really great for midwinter. And yeah, I think that's probably everybody's favorite part of the day. So when we get home, we have a science lesson that we do together. And that's been really fun, like science experiment style stuff. And I think the kids work through the homeschool activities in the beginning of the day that they don't necessarily love or that feel like a chore, because they know they're going to do a super fun science experiment later. So if you have kids that are struggling with wanting to participate in the homeschool curriculum that you've created or that you have available for them, my best suggestion would be to pick the funnest thing and have it at the end of the day, the end of your lesson day, so that they have something to look forward to, and so that they want to get all their stuff done so that they can do that super fun thing. So after science, it's basically free for all, and this is when my kids work on crafts. This is when they play music. This is when they just play with each other or play outside. And this is time when I either catch up on some household chores and, you know, boring stuff like that, or I focus on my projects, which I will talk about the office hours in just a second. But as far as the homeschooling stuff goes, the flow is super flexible. It is so much less stressful than any pre-made curriculum or online programming that I've tried. So for me, creating a personalized curriculum tailored to my kids' learning styles and tailored to each of their needs where they're at right now, not necessarily like a specific grade level or age group, has just been a complete game changer. And I'm open to talking about how I created this personalized curriculum and, you know, exactly how I did that, but not right now. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know and we can make a separate episode out of it, or maybe I'll write a blog post or something of that nature, because it has been super, super valuable for me and them. Okay, so let's move on. So let's talk about balancing my office hours and channeling my creative energy, which is something that I had struggled with for a long time. Was, you know, I struggled with, I want to do all this stuff at my house, you know, and like be this awesome housewife that makes these amazing meals and bakes all the yummy things. But then I also want to homeschool my kids and make sure that they're like learning everything. And then maybe like the kitchen life dwindles if I'm spending more time on homeschooling. And then maybe I have this surge of creative energy and I want to ignore the kitchen and my children completely and just like create something, whatever it is that I'm experiencing in that moment. So if that sounds like you, hopefully this episode has been a little helpful so far. But the thing for me has just been dedicating office hours, and, you know, my husband being on board with I get this time, and my kids understanding that I get this time. So let's dive in. If you're anything like me, finding time to work on your creative projects while managing everything else might feel impossible. But the really cool thing is that even really small steps add up. So that's how I kind of got the ball rolling with all of this new motivation for actually launching something instead of just creating it and letting it sit in the depths of something like my computer hard drive. I'm laughing at myself because if you know me, I have so many ideas that have just fizzled into, the depths of a hard drive because I had no schedule. And having this schedule has changed everything. The loose, flexible schedule that I don't always follow, yes, that's completely changed everything. So I schedule office hours. I aim for 2 to 3 hours a day. Sometimes I get more, sometimes I get less, sometimes I get 0. It really just depends. But during these office hours, I have goals. So my goal is to, first of all, stay organized. If you're anything like me, again, I keep saying that, but I feel like I can't be alone here. You might have a creative idea, you put it in your notes app, or write it down on a sticky note, which is even worse, and it never goes anywhere. So the very start of my office hours are organizing everything I've collected since the last time I've sat down to focus and putting it where it needs to go. You know, like this belongs with this project or this belongs in this chapter. You get the idea. So staying organized is huge. Then I brain dump. And I just let anything in my brain flow freely onto my page. It clears my mind. It helps me stay focused. And bonus, it often leads to new ideas and, new portions, new chapters, new things for my current projects. So after the brain dump, I choose one major project to focus on. And whether it's my book, my online course, Wild Mother's Way content, or something else, on that day I just pick one project and I dedicate as much time, passion, energy as possible during my time block to really move the needle forward. So these are how these small steps start to add up. You might have a handful of things going on like me, and working on them throughout the week, a little bit every time, but in larger chunks, is so much more effective than trying to work on them all every day. Or for me, trying to complete one creative idea before I move on to the next one, because then it's like the other creative idea is just sitting on the back burner and it's like all flat and dehydrated and all its juiciness is gone because I haven't given it any attention. So what's been working for me, like I said, it's just been splitting these up and really dedicating a lot of time and passion and energy to one project at a time, multiple times throughout the week. So maybe you're nothing like me, and maybe you don't have major projects going and you don't have anything to channel your creative energy into, yet you find yourself bursting with creative energy. So if that's you, here's some ideas to stay grounded and send that energy in a positive direction. And the first idea is to capture all of your ideas without pressure. Jot them down as they come on that random sticky note that you hopefully don't lose in your notes app, whatever. Don't even consider acting on it. Just let it flow and get it out of your brain and onto the paper, into your phone, whatever. And then just make time to organize it later. And as long as all of your ideas remain in some sort of organized form, I have complete faith that at least one, if not all of them, will so easily and beautifully come to fruition for you. Second idea is to combine creativity with family time. So you can channel your creativity into baking bread, making your meals. Make those meals not boring and elaborate because you have that creative energy if you don't have other projects going on. If you have the desire to start a craft, hopefully it's something you can do alongside your kids or maybe with your partner, so You can channel your creative energy into shared moments of joy, and you're getting that juicy, creative cup full of love while still having family time. So it feels less stressful and, everybody gets fulfillment. And last but not least, let go of perfection. That's like probably the theme of this entire podcast and this entire community. We're not perfect. Life is chaotic and messy, and we love it that way. And it's just about the process, and it's not necessarily about the outcome. The outcome will come. If you put the work in to whatever it is, you're going to get a result eventually. And the result is not going to bring you the same amount of joy that you think it will compared to the process of generating that result. So enjoy the process. Let go of perfection and just soak it up and dance in it and make it messy and love it. So that was a lot. I hope that has been really valuable for you, and I will leave you with a very gentle reminder. So let's take a deep breath together as we come into this conclusion. If you're feeling overwhelmed, tired, unsure of how to balance it all, I want you to remember this. You are enough. If you're in final weeks of pregnancy like me, soak it up, enjoy it. These final weeks are very sacred. They're messy and beautiful and transformative. You don't have to do it all perfectly. You just have to be present. Show yourself grace. Trust your intuition and prepare for this beautiful transition ahead. So I would love if you would help me in supporting other women as well as myself. And if you could share your thoughts on how this impacted you, or maybe you have better ideas than me or additional tips. I would love if you would share that in the comments or send me a message and let me know. And I really just hope this episode leaves you feeling seen and supported and inspired. So don't forget, I've included 2 freebies for you in the show notes. I have the January handwriting guide and a printable guided journal. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave me a review. I would also be incredibly honored if you chose to share this podcast with someone who you think might find it valuable. I'm really looking forward to growing this community of wild-hearted mamas. Next week, I'm going to dive into the hows, costs, and details of what I like to call our time spent creative living. But this was just basically our very nomadic journey of world travel that was not very scheduled and kind of, a lot of going with the flow. And I'm going to share that with you and how we made that work. And just, it was really wonderful. So writing that episode brought back a lot of really warm memories, and I hope it inspires somebody to kind of just give everything up and go travel the world, because it's so worth it. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe and tune in next week. That's what we're going to be talking about. You can find me on Instagram at Wild Mother's Way, and the link in my bio there will connect you to all of the resources that I have for you. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm really grateful for this journey that we're sharing.